David Miller, the faint hum of machinery a constant companion, was deep in his daily routine at the Mars Outpost's central engineering bay when his communicator beeped with an unusual urgency. He swiped the device open, revealing a message sealed with a foreign but familiar digital insignia. "David, meet me at the old hangar. You won't believe this," read the message from his colleague, Mark Jensen. Curiosity piqued. David wiped his hands and headed out, the red Martian dust swirling around his boots. As he entered the dimly lit hangar, Mark was already there, pacing. "Look at this," Mark said, thrusting a holographic tablet towards him. The air above the tablet flickered to life, displaying a complex alien script David recognized immediately. Grissalian. "Is that from Zilnthian?" David asked, the mention of his late alien friend tightening his chest with a mix of sorrow and fondness. "Yes, and it's addressed to you," Mark replied. He tapped the device, translating the text. "It's an invitation to the reading of Zilnthian's will, and it's happening on Gressel." David was silent for a moment, absorbing the shock. Zilnthian had been more than a friend. He'd been a bridge between human and alien understanding. "When is the reading?" "Tomorrow. They've arranged transport for you. Seems you're pretty important in their eyes," Mark chuckled, clapping David on the shoulder. The next day, after a dizzying ride through the star-streaked void, David stepped onto the lush, vibrant world of Graysol. The gravity, lighter than Mars, was a refreshing change. He was greeted by Lorne, a Grissalian official with shimmering, translucent skin. "Mr. Miller, we are honored by your presence. If you'll follow me, we have prepared a gathering in respect of Zilnthian's wishes," Lorne said, his voice a soothing melody. David followed through winding pathways bordered by bioluminescent flora until they reached a stately building that blended seamlessly with its natural surroundings. Inside, a group of various aliens, some humanoid, some not, murmured in hushed tones. Lorne led David to the front where two Grissalians stood. The taller one, with piercing blue eyes, extended a hand. "I am Sevron, executor of Zilnthian's will," he introduced. Beside him, a female Grissalian with elegant patterns swirling over her skin nodded at David. "And I am Eliana, one of those who will be in your charge," she said, her voice carrying a hint of both uncertainty and strength. Beside her, another Grissalian, more reserved but equally striking, remained silent. Severin cleared his throat, drawing the room's attention. "We are gathered to honor the last wishes of Zilnthian, a friend to many species. To David Miller, he has left his estate, including significant assets and responsibilities." The room erupted in murmurs, alien eyes turning to assess David. He felt the weight of their gazes, realizing the magnitude of what Zilnthian had entrusted to him. Severin continued. "Additionally, Eliana and Zara have been entrusted to his care, as per their agreement and Zilnthian's will." David looked at Eliana, and for the first time noticed the other Grissalian, Zara, who now stepped forward. "We have agreed to this to honor Zilnthian's vision of unity and collaboration. We hope to learn and grow together," Zara said, her voice firm. David nodded, accepting the gravity of his new role. "I knew Zilnthian as a mentor and friend. I'm committed to honoring his memory and wishes, learning from you all, and building something meaningful together." As the meeting concluded, David, Eliana, and Zara stood together, the beginning of an unexpected new chapter in their lives. They exchanged tentative smiles, acknowledging the journey ahead, filled with potential and the promise of new understanding between their worlds. After the will reading, David, Eliana, and Zara retreated to what would now be David's new residence, an expansive estate that spanned several rolling hills covered with a vibrant tapestry of alien flora. The house itself was an architectural marvel, a seamless blend of Grissalian organic design and the technological sophistication that David was familiar with. As they walked through the garden paths, David tried to break the ice. "This place is amazing," he commented, looking around at the luminescent trees that seemed to dance gently in the alien breeze. Eliana smiled, her face lighting up. Zilnthian loved this garden. He used to say it reminded him of the universality of growth, whether it's plants or relationships. Zara, more reserved, added, "And he was meticulous. Everything here has a balance, a purpose. You will find that his choices for his estate are much like his choices in Friends." They reached the house, and David was shown into a vast living area where walls of transparent material offered views of the surrounding landscape. The interior was furnished with an eclectic mix of human and Grissalian pieces, an emblem of the cultural synthesis Zilnthian had lived by. Each room has been equipped with adapters for human needs, Zara pointed out as they toured the estate. Temperature controls, gravity fields, even the food synthesizers have settings for Earth cuisine. David nodded appreciatively, touched by his friend's foresight. I'm grateful for this, really, but I must admit, the part about me inheriting you both, I'm not sure how to handle that. I want to make sure you both feel respected in this arrangement. Eliana's expression softened. We understand. This isn't typical for us either, but Grisalians value bonds formed in life and in passing. We were close to Zilnthian, and he believed we could forge a new path together. David sighed, a mix of relief and responsibility settling on his shoulders. Then let's make a pact. We'll all have an equal say in how we run this place and manage the inheritance. It's what he would have wanted. Agreed, Zara replied, her usually stoic demeanor easing into a tentative smile. As they settled into the evening, Lorne visited, bringing documents and details about the estate's operations. You have significant holdings, Mr. Miller, not just in real estate, but in several key industries on Gressel. Zilnthian was a prominent figure here. David took the documents, scanning them with a growing realization of the influence Zilnthian wielded. And now, by extension, he did. I'll need a lot of help managing this. I hope you'll both guide me. We will, Eliana assured him. And there's more to discuss. There are aspects of Gressalian technology and culture that might benefit Earth, something Zilnthian was passionate about. Their conversation drifted into plans and possibilities, the night deepening around them as they talked. It was clear that their journey together would be one of mutual learning and adaptation. David felt a cautious optimism about the future, believing that together they could honor Zilnthian's legacy in a way that bridged their worlds. That night, as David lay in a room that hovered somewhere between the familiar and the alien, he realized that his life had taken a turn into the unknown, guided by the last wishes of a friend who had seen something in him that he was just beginning to understand. In the weeks following his inheritance, David immersed himself in the management of Zilnthian's vast assets. With Eliana and Zara's guidance, he adapted to the complex interstellar commerce laws and cultural nuances of Gressal. Despite the steep learning curve, he began to make headway, integrating more Earth technology into Gressalian markets. Meanwhile, news of his unusual inheritance had traveled far beyond the borders of Gressal. Back on Mars, the human communities began to buzz with both curiosity and envy. Why would a human inherit such wealth from an alien? What did it mean for the future interactions between their species? One evening, as David sat down with Eliana and Zara to discuss the development of a new trade route, his communicator beeped with an incoming transmission from Earth. It was Thomas Reed, an old friend and a senior official in the Mars Colonial Administration. David, you're making waves back here. Thomas's face appeared, lined with concern. There's talk about the precedent your situation sets. Some fear it might lead to unwanted alien influence over human affairs. David rubbed his forehead. I'm just trying to honor Zilnthian's wishes, Thomas. He believed in sharing knowledge and resources across species. Yes, but not everyone sees it that way, Thomas replied. There's a growing faction here that's rallying against what they call alien overreach. Be careful, David. These people aren't known for their subtlety. David ended the call with a heavy heart, the weight of unseen eyes upon him suddenly palpable. He shared his concerns with Eliana and Zara, who listened intently. We feared this might happen, Eliana said quietly. Gressal has seen its share of xenophobia, but we hoped better for humans. Zara, ever the strategist, suggested, perhaps it's time we demonstrate the benefits of this inheritance beyond mere wealth. Let's use these resources to create something visibly beneficial for both our peoples. Motivated by Zara's suggestion, they decided to initiate a project that would encapsulate Zilnthian's vision, a cultural exchange program designed to educate both human and Gressalian communities about each other's worlds. The project began to take shape over the following days, with David coordinating closely with Earth. He arranged for delegations from Mars to visit Gressel and vice versa, intending to foster understanding and cooperation. However, the tensions on Mars escalated quicker than anticipated. A radical group, calling themselves Humanity's Frontier, began to stage protests against what they deemed the alienation of human wealth and rights. One morning, as David reviewed the progress of the cultural exchange program, an urgent alert flashed across his screens. The news feeds showed chaotic scenes of protests at the Mars Spaceport, where the first Gressalian delegates were due to arrive. They're calling it an invasion. Mark's voice came through, strained over the communicator. It's getting ugly here, David. These guys are determined to sabotage the arrival. Faced with this direct challenge, David knew he had to act decisively. Prepare for my return, he instructed Mark. We need to address this head on. It's time to show that this inheritance isn't about division, it's about building bridges. As David prepared to leave for Mars, Aliana and Zara stood by him, resolute. We'll manage things on Gressel, Zara assured him. You take care of Earth. Show them the true spirit of Xilthian's legacy. With a plan in place and the stakes clearer than ever, David boarded the shuttle back to Mars. The journey back to his home planet was fraught with uncertainty, but David was determined to turn the tide of fear into a wave of mutual respect and collaboration. David's shuttle touched down on Mars under the cover of darkness, an attempt to avoid drawing attention. The air was tense as he disembarked, greeted by Mark and a small security team. The situation's worse than we thought, Mark explained as they hurried into an armored vehicle. Humanity's frontier has been rallying more support. They're planning something big for tomorrow's delegate arrival. As they drove through the dimly lit streets of the Mars colony, David saw the graffiti-strewn walls proclaiming slogans like "Humans First" and "No Alien Lies." His heart sank. The colony he once knew as a beacon of cooperation and progress had shifted into something darker. The next morning, David and his team positioned themselves at the spaceport, prepared to protect the Gressalian delegates. The crowd was swelling, a mix of curious onlookers and angry protesters. David spotted banners waving in the dusty wind, faces contorted in anger and fear. Just as the Gressalian shuttle began its descent, a loud roar swept through the crowd. "Stop the invasion!" voices shouted, echoing off the spaceport structures. The security team tensed, forming a protective circle as the shuttle landed and the delegates disembarked. David stepped forward, raising his hands in a calming gesture. These are our friends, here to learn from us and share their knowledge. Let's show them the best of humanity. But before he could continue, a loud explosion shattered the moment. A device, thrown from the midst of the crowd, erupted near the shuttle. Panic ensued as people screamed and scrambled. Security forces moved swiftly, tackling the assailant while others attended to the injured. In the chaos, David rushed to the aid of a fallen delegate, helping them to safety. Amid the turmoil, he locked eyes with a protester, a young man whose face was twisted with confusion and anger. "Why?" David shouted over the noise, his voice filled with desperation and sorrow. The young man looked away, swallowed by the crowd. The attack halted the arrival ceremony, and the delegates were quickly ushered to safety. As the dust settled, David, Mark, and the security team assessed the damage. Several were injured, but thankfully there were no fatalities. "This was meant to scare us, to drive a wedge between our species," David said to the group gathered in the makeshift crisis center. "We can't let them win." Determined to salvage the situation, David proposed a public address. "I need to speak to the colony, to all of Mars. We can't let fear dictate our future." With heavy security, David went live on every available media channel that evening. Standing before the cameras, the backdrop of Mars's rugged landscape behind him, he addressed the people. "My friends," David began, his voice steady despite the day's events. "Today we faced fear and hatred, designed to tear us apart. But we must remember who we are. Mars was built on the principles of unity and exploration, of learning and growing together, not apart." He continued, "The violence today does not reflect the true spirit of humanity. We must not fall prey to fear. Our future lies in cooperation, in understanding, in peace. Let us show the galaxy that humans stand for hope, not hatred." The speech resonated, spreading across social networks and news outlets, igniting discussions and debates about the future of human-alien relations. As David finished, he felt the weight of his responsibilities more than ever. Tomorrow, he would need to rebuild not just physical structures, but trust and relationships. It was a daunting task, but necessary. For Xilthian, for Mars, and for the galaxy. In the aftermath of the attack, David realized the importance of building stronger community ties and addressing the fears that fueled such hostility. Despite the challenges, he pressed on with his efforts to create dialogue and understanding between the humans on Mars and the Gressalian delegates. To mend the frayed trust, David organized a series of workshops and open forums both on Mars and via virtual links to Gressel. These sessions focused on educating the public about the cultural and technological benefits of interstellar cooperation, and were designed to be highly interactive to encourage participation from skeptics and supporters alike. During one such session, a notable Martian agriculturist, Dr. Eric Sanders, expressed his skepticism about adopting alien agricultural techniques. In response, David arranged for a live demonstration of Grolian hydroponic technology, showcasing its potential to revolutionize food production on Mars, which had long struggled with harsh growing conditions. The demonstration took place in one of the larger biodomes, attended by local farmers, scientists, and media. As Grolian experts, projected via holograms, guided their human counterparts through the process. The crowd watched in real time as yields improved dramatically within just the first cycle of growth. "Seeing is believing," Dr. Sanders admitted afterwards, his tone a mix of concession and awe. "I suppose there's room at the table for new methods if they bring results like these." Buoyed by this success, David initiated a technology exchange program, offering Martian mining technology in return for Grolian advancements in energy efficiency. This reciprocity helped alleviate fears that Mars was merely giving away resources without gaining tangible benefits. However, not all were convinced. A faction within the colony, led by former security officer Jane Hawthorne, remained deeply suspicious of any alien involvement. To address these concerns, David invited Jane and her followers to a private meeting to discuss their fears and propose a security oversight committee that would include members of their group. "Transparency is key," David stressed during the meeting. "You will have full access to all projects and will be part of the decision-making process. Let's ensure our community's safety together." Jane, tough and unyielding, nodded slowly. "We'll be watching closely. Any sign of foul play, and we'll shut this down." With this uneasy truce, David's initiatives slowly started to gain more acceptance. The establishment of the Oversight Committee particularly helped in mitigating fears and ensuring that all actions were monitored and approved by representatives from different factions of the Mars colony. To further solidify this growing partnership, David reached out to other human colonies and alien civilizations, sharing the successes and the lessons learned from Mars. His efforts caught the attention of an interstellar council interested in promoting peace and cooperation across systems. They invited David to speak at their next assembly, recognizing his role in fostering a model of intercultural cooperation. As David prepared for the assembly, he knew he was no longer just a representative of Mars or humanity, but a testament to the potential for unity and diversity. Each step forward was a step towards a more stable and prosperous future for all, humans and aliens alike. This growing network of allies not only strengthened his position, but also highlighted the universal desire for peace and progress. As David's initiatives on Mars began to flourish, and his reputation as a mediator and innovator grew, he decided it was time to delve deeper into the mysterious aspects of Zilinthian's legacy that had not yet been fully explored. The ancient artifacts that Zilinthian had left behind were a significant part of his estate, yet their purposes and potentials remained largely unknown. One evening, while studying Zilinthian's personal journals which had been encoded in the Grolian script, David discovered references to a set of artifacts called the Keys of Null. According to the journals, these artifacts were believed to hold the power to influence energy fields at a quantum level, potentially altering the fabric of space-time itself. Intrigued and aware of the possible implications, David shared this information with Eliana and Zara during one of their secure communications. "Zilinthian believed these could change the way we understand energy and propulsion," David explained, projecting holographic images of the artifacts, strange, luminescent objects with intricate carvings. "We've heard legends of such artifacts," Zara responded thoughtfully. "They were considered sacred, capable of great power, but requiring wise stewardship. Zilinthian must have trusted you immensely to leave them in your care." Realizing the importance of these artifacts, David arranged a meeting with top scientists from both human and Grolian communities. He needed their help to study the artifacts' properties and, more crucially, to ensure they were used responsibly. The research commenced at a secure facility on Grol, where the artifacts were subjected to various non-invasive tests. Early experiments showed that the keys could indeed manipulate energy in unprecedented ways, offering breakthroughs in energy sustainability that could benefit all known worlds. However, as word of these discoveries leaked, interest from other alien civilizations surged. Some saw the potential for peace and shared prosperity, while others viewed the artifacts as weapons or tools for dominance. David found himself at the center of a galactic intrigue he had not anticipated. One night, the facility was breached. The security system was sabotaged, And although the intrusion was thwarted before any artifacts could be stolen, the message was clear. The artifacts were in danger of falling into the wrong hands. In response, David convened an emergency meeting with the Interstellar Council, presenting the findings about the artifacts and the recent breach. "These are not weapons," David insisted in the Council's Grand Hall, filled with representatives from various planets. "Handled correctly, they could end energy scarcity and open new paths to understanding the universe." The debate that followed was intense. Each representative had different views on how best to manage and protect the artifacts. After lengthy negotiations, it was agreed that an independent body would be established to oversee the research, consisting of scientists and leaders from various civilizations, including those skeptical of the artifact's use. David also proposed an open database on all research findings, accessible to all civilizations, ensuring transparency and collective oversight. This proposal was met with mixed reactions, but eventually it passed, setting a new precedent for how potentially transformative technologies were handled on a galactic scale. With these measures in place, the research continued under strict supervision, and the potential threats receded. David's role as a guardian of Xilthian's legacy was now recognized not only on Mars and Gressel, but across the stars. As he watched the scientists, human and alien alike, collaborate on unraveling the mysteries of the keys of Null, David felt a profound connection to Xilthian's vision. A vision of a universe where knowledge and power were shared for the benefit of all. Despite the establishment of a governing body and an open database for the research of the keys of Null, tensions continued to simmer among various interstellar factions. The unparalleled potential of the artifacts made them a target for those who wished to control or exploit their power. David found himself increasingly in the role of guardian and diplomat, navigating the choppy waters of galactic politics. The situation escalated when an alliance of alien races, fearful of the implications of such power being shared so broadly, began to organize. They argued that the artifacts were too dangerous to be studied openly, advocating for stricter controls or even the complete sequestration of the technology. David received intelligence that this coalition was planning to enforce their views through a show of force. They aimed to seize the research facility on Gressel, intending to take control of the artifacts. With little time to react, David coordinated with Eliana, Zara, and the Interstellar Council to bolster defenses and prepare for a potential conflict. The coalition wasted no time. A formidable fleet appeared in Gressel's orbit, issuing a stern ultimatum: hand over the artifacts or face military action. David, realizing the gravity of the threat, rallied his allies. "We cannot let fear dictate the future of these discoveries," he declared during an emergency broadcast to the Council and the people of Gressel. "The benefits of this technology belong to all, not just a few." As the deadline approached, David's diplomatic efforts intensified. He reached out to other civilizations for support, pleading for a united front against the coercion. His appeals were not in vain. Several systems, recognizing the danger of such concentrated power, sent reinforcements to aid Gressel. The siege began with a barrage of orbital strikes, aimed at disabling Gressel's defensive satellites and communication networks. The research facility went into lockdown, its robust defense systems, a combination of human and Gresselian technology, holding firm against the initial assaults. David coordinated the defense from the command center, his face a mask of concentration as reports flooded in. Outside, the skies were lit with the flashes of energy weapons and the eerie glow of shields being tested to their limits. Eliana and Zara, both trained in their planet's military tactics, led sorties to intercept incoming drones and manned vessels. Their intimate knowledge of Gressel's terrain and systems proved invaluable, allowing them to outmaneuver and outwit the attackers on several fronts. As the battle raged, David opened a channel to the coalition's commander, offering one last plea for peace. "This conflict will bring nothing but loss on both sides," he argued. "Let us return to the council table and find a solution that safeguards everyone's interests." The commander, a hard-edged veteran of interstellar conflicts, was initially resistant. However, David's earnestness and the fierce resistance being shown made him waver. "I will consider your words," the commander finally conceded, pulling back his forces temporarily. The reprieve allowed David to reinforce his position and prepare for further negotiations. The siege had shown that while many feared the artifact's potential, there were just as many, if not more, who believed in their promise for a better future. After intense diplomatic efforts, a new agreement was drafted under the auspices of the Interstellar Council. The coalition agreed to stand down in exchange for increased representation in the oversight body and stricter security protocols for the research. As the last of the coalition's ships withdrew from Grissol's orbit, David, Eliana, and Zara stood together, weary but relieved. They had defended not just their home, but a principle: that knowledge and progress should be shared, not hoarded. The siege was over, but the journey to forge a path of peace and cooperation continued. After the siege was lifted, there was a collective sigh of relief among the inhabitants of Gressel and their allies across the galaxy. The conflict had brought to the forefront the delicate balance of power and the universal desire for a peaceful coexistence. David, Eliana, and Zara now faced the task of not just rebuilding, but also reinforcing the foundations of trust and cooperation that had been shaken. In the weeks following the resolution of the conflict, David worked tirelessly with the Interstellar Council to implement the new security protocols and oversight measures that had been agreed upon. The research on the keys of null continued, but now under much stricter controls and with a broader, more inclusive oversight committee that included representatives from the coalition that had once sought to seize the artifacts. Meanwhile, David initiated a series of cultural exchange programs, inviting members of different alien races to visit Grissol and learn about the research and its potential benefits firsthand. These programs were designed not only to educate, but also to dispel myths and build interpersonal connections across species. Eliana and Zara played crucial roles in these initiatives. Eliana led tours of the research facility, explaining the scientific processes in a way that was accessible to non-scientists, while Zara organized workshops that focused on the ethical implications and societal impacts of the new technologies. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Delegates from various planets left Grissol with a new understanding and appreciation of the cooperative efforts. They carried with them messages of peace and collaboration, spreading the word to their home planets. David also focused on strengthening the local infrastructure on Gressel, ensuring that the planet was well prepared to handle any future threats. New defense systems were installed, and a rapid response team was trained, comprising members from different species, each bringing unique skills and perspectives to the table. As peace and stability returned, David found himself reflecting on his journey, from inheriting an unexpected legacy to becoming a leader in a galactic dialogue. He often walked through the gardens of his estate, where he and Zilnthian had spent many hours discussing philosophy and the future. One evening, as the twin suns of Gracel set, casting a warm glow over the land, David stood with Eliana and Zara, looking out over the landscape. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice filled with emotion. Zilnthian would have been proud. Eliana smiled, taking his hand. Not just proud. He foresaw this, in a way. This estate, the artifacts, the challenges, they were all meant to bring us here, to this point of unity and understanding. Zara nodded in agreement. And now we look to the future. A future where these struggles are just a part of history, a testament to our ability to rise above and come together. Encouraged by their words, David felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would undoubtedly present new challenges, but with allies like Eliana and Zara, and the support of a galaxy that now looked towards Gressel as a beacon of cooperation, he was ready to face whatever came next. Together, they continued to work, plan, and dream, not just for themselves or for Gressel, but for a galaxy where humanity and alien races could share in the wealth of knowledge and the promise of peace. As the stars twinkled above, reflecting off the serene waters of a Gressalian lake, it was clear that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in the saga of interspecies collaboration, a testament to the enduring spirit of curiosity, respect, and unity.